Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I believe we have complete agreement with the first principle that you have referred to today, and that is that every able-bodied person should be working or preparing to work. Governor Engler has referred to pathway programs. We have a number of successful ones in Texas. Project Quest, working to get poor people into better jobs with the healthcare industry, and with Capital Idea in Austin, working to get some people into the tech industry to fulfill some of our workforce demands there. Ms. Van Zant has outlined a program that appears to be working very well. We just need more such programs adapted to local conditions to help people get good, long-paying jobs where they can climb into the middle class and support their families. There's only one problem that I have with all of this and the announcement of these principles, and that is the failure of this committee to do anything to implement those principles, specifically to rig up a way of considering the extension of temporary assistance for needy families in a way that denies any debate about reforms that could really make a difference to poor people. And not all the ideas about how to get more able-bodied people into the workforce come from Democrats. In fact, one of them was included in then Chairman Ryan's poverty rollout last summer, and it was embodied in legislation that was introduced by Mr. Teaberry and Mr. Renacci from this committee. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent to include Mr. Teaberry's press release about that bill in the record.
Without objection.
And Mr. Teaberry told us that what he had was a common sense reform. Unfortunately, it wasn't common sense enough to get considered in this committee. They have structured a process to deny us an opportunity to consider whether opportunities for more education and training by those who have been receiving temporary assistance for needy families should be made available. I think have substituted basically a press release suggesting from our last set of bills, having divided up the question of temporary needy assistance for families into about 6 or 7 different bills to avoid dealing with Mr. Teaberry's idea or any ideas that the rest of us might have about getting more able-bodied people to work. That what was substituted was a press release saying that the committee takes action to help families escape poverty. I would love a report at the end of the year to show that if every one of these bills is adopted, that one person got out of poverty this year in America because they were adopted. This is about substituting not workfare for welfare, but substituting talkfare. And then there's the question of the polka dot chart, and if you put it back up, I would appreciate it. You've referred to it in every hearing that we've had about poverty. That chart, designed to show how expansive the trillion-dollar welfare system is, it's worth looking at the specific provisions on it. Veterans pension and survivors pension, breast and cervical cancer prevention, the Ryan White HIV/AIDS program, adoption assistance, child support enforcement, the school lunch program, federal Pell Grants. You know, the people in my district can find the program out of that meets their needs, and the person who has a problem with cervical cancer may not be someone who needs a Pell Grant, or they may need both. To condemn President Johnson's war on poverty as a failure is to ignore the many who never engage in fighting that war, and all of those who cut and run at the first sign of adversity on the battlefield. It is to ignore the fact that the states today are putting 8 cents of every TANF dollar into the work that we say we support. We don't lack answers. We don't need intensive investigation of which program to support. We know that. Republicans have even recognized that. They simply don't have the courage to put their dollars where their mouth is. And as a result, we talk about what might help people escape poverty and move into the middle class, and we do next to nothing about it. And that's what's happening this year. It's disappointing that our states will not fulfill their commitment. If you want to look at a failed federal program, look at temporary assistance for needy families, because it shows you when you have a block grant to the states without adequate standards, it is a failure in accomplishing its purpose of moving people from welfare to work. I yield back.